Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm gonna be reviewing the ninth episode of season 4 for The Walking Dead After. I know it's taken me a little to review this, but I've been having some technical difficulties with my computer, and I've been sick a bit. Now I'm getting some time to actually do the review. Better late than never. So basically, as I said before, After is the ninth episode of season 4 for The Walking Dead. For those who haven't seen it, for whatever reason, I recommend you go watch it because it's an incredibly good episode. And yeah, I'll give you a couple seconds because there may be some spoilers. So a couple seconds starting now. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it for a couple seconds. So as I said before, ninth episode of season 4 after the mid-season premiere. Basically this is right during the aftermath of the events of Too Far Gone, video review right there. For those who want to check it out. So yeah, this is an incredibly good episode. So as review goes, I'll do a quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and then I'll rate it. As I said before, it's like right after in the aftermath of the actual Too Far Gone events. It's like right immediately. This episode really just revolves around Michonne and Carl. It's really just a bunch of character development for them. Basically, Carl and Rick, they're one group, and Michonne is another group. Basically, in Rick and Carl's side, it's basically issue 50 and 51. It's basically the whole adaptation, in my opinion. Which is good to an extent. Basically, they go to this barbecue shack, try to get some supplies. Then they end up in this house. Rick is like in a small coma or shock or whatever he's doing, and Carl, he's trying to live some kind of normal teenage life in this zombie apocalyptic world. He's reading, he's killing a few zombies, and he's eating pudding and a lot of pudding. Um, um, it's a joke. Once you've seen the episode, you guys will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you have some some character development between Rick and Carl. Carl kind of talking back to him, which is something most teenagers would do, myself included. So yeah, talking back to her parents. And basically towards the end of the episode, just like in the issue 50, I believe, yeah, 50, Rick wakes up from his like small coma, and he kind of sounds like a walker, but he's not really a walker. So Carl is like, I can't shoot you. You're my dad. I don't want to be alone, so just eat me. And it turns out he's not a walker. So, that's basically it for them. On Michonne's part, you see her go back to Herschel's head and stab it. She gains some new zombie walker pets. And she's basically, also having, trying to experience the trauma. Well, not really experience, but trying to go through the trauma of after having lost prison and Herschel, and she's basically reliving some of her past moments during the apocalypse. You see a pretty cool flashback of her with her boyfriend, or husband or whatever, and one of her friends and her baby, and they have the same names as they do in the comics, Mike and Terry. I don't know what the baby's name is. It's not mentioned in the TV show. I don't know if it's mentioned in the comics, but besides the point. So basically, it's a pretty cool character development out of her. And then at the end, they practically kind of meet up. That's rain. It's raining right now, so that background stuff is rain. Try to ignore it. Basically, this whole episode was a huge character development episode, and also it's kind of almost like a, how do I say this? It's almost like a, I guess, step by step or something like that. It was basically practically copied page by page by page type of thing out of issues 49 through 51. Many similarities. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but some of the major ones would be Rick waking up from his coma, and Carl now wants to shoot him. Besides that, you also have the one scene we saw from the trailers. Carl leading away two walkers, and then having to fight off, ending up fighting off like 4 or 5 of the walkers. Michonne stabbing Herschel's head. Some of the bigger scenes, they were practically from the comics. You really only saw 3 characters: Rick, Michonne, and Carl. Yeah, you really didn't get a lot out of Rick. There was not really much character development out of him, but you really did get a lot from both Michonne and Carl, which I loved. I'm gonna start off with Michonne. You get to see a lot of Michonne, a lot of sides we've never seen. I think one of the biggest parts of her character development in this episode was her flashback or dream or whatever it was of with her husband or boyfriend or whatever, her baby and her friend, Mike and Terry from the early on in the apocalypse, kind of seeing how they kind of died, how that's affecting her, and you do realize she has a baby, so that does explain why in one of the previous episodes she was crying when she was carrying Judith. So that does explain. Yeah. Now I think that's the most major character development. I mean, she also has her badass moments. I mean, she took down like 30 walkers at one point, which we've seen in both pictures and some of the trailers or teaser trailers or whatever. So that was pretty good to see. Her being a badass as usual. And you also see how the effects of her having lost Herschel in the prison is starting to dwell on her. So that's pretty cool to see. As for Carl's side, you see him talking back to Rick more. Telling him how he couldn't defend all these people: Daryl, Beth, Herschel, Michonne, Glenn, Maggie, how Lori, Shane, how he couldn't defend any of them. And then when speaking to Shane, there's also this other pretty cool quote that he grabbed this cable from one of the TVs and he was tying it around the door so walkers don't get in. And Rick's like just looking at him, and Carl's like, Shane taught me this lot. You remember Shane, right? And then Rick's like, yeah, I remember him, but I don't think about him every day. I think that's what he said. That was a pretty cool quote, and it's nice to see that we see how Shane has slowly influenced Carl, slowly. And it's also pretty cool to see some of that from previous characters, how they're influencing present characters. So that's pretty awesome to see. I mean, besides that, you also have pretty cool character development. You see him trying to live like this almost kind of normal teenage life. There's this one scene right before the where he's talking back to Rick about Shane. When he sees these Xbox games and these DVDs, he's like looking at them, and then he realizes he's trying to snap out of it. Realizing we're in this apocalypse. I don't have time to play games. You also see a pretty cool scene of him reading. It's like a quick scene. It's not really that cool, but you see him like trying to experience some kind of normality. Is that a word? Normality, whatever. Some normal teenage life kind of way. So that's pretty cool to see. Um, you know, Also talking back. Also I think it's for 10 minutes, but I think some of the best, not want to call it character developments or scenes, but one of the best parts in this episode where he's just like eating pudding and whatever. It's just pretty funny. It's pretty cool. It's almost like enjoy the little things you have in life. So that's pretty cool. And at the end you have him, Carl not being able to shoot Rick, even though he's not a walker, but at the time he thought he was a walker. So and then at the end of the episode, Michonne, Rick, and Carl find each other. Michonne ends up finding the house they're staying in. She rings the doorbell, I think, or knocks on the door. And once Rick looks through the eye hole, which I think there was a picture of it, I'm pretty sure it was. He goes to Carl and says, "That's for you." But yeah, that was a pretty incredible episode. Um, that's practically a quick synopsis and almost likes and dislikes. Basically, I really loved the character development in this episode. I mean, I did find it a bit odd on the dream. But I think that's because of the transition from commercials to the actual scene. It felt odd to me. I think the first part of the three parts, the first part of the commercial seemed kind of weird to me, but overall, that whole dream did seem kind of cool. Then you have Michonne being a badass, Carl being badass, and Rick not really doing anything in this episode, which I know they're trying to have adapt this from the comic books, but I think they could have done a little bit more with him. But I do realize, understand and realize they're trying to adapt this from the comic books. So yeah, the acting as usual, the writing, the settings and whatnot, those are always great. Dislikes, what can I say? I mean, the dream sequence did feel kind of odd for me at the beginning, but then I eventually understood it. But I do think they could have done a little bit more with Rick. Um, but yeah, maybe actually I do have one more thing that kind of bothers me. Like, it's like somewhat really like nitpicking, but it just bothers me a little bit. A little bit. Again, like I said, it's nitpickingness. Like they adapted way too much from the comic books onto this episode, and practically showed at least half of this episode through trailers or something like that, which I also didn't like. It's really nitpicking, but after having seen all the full scenes and whatnot, I honestly do think it's a pretty cool episode. But whatever. So after having watched the episode, um, I think that this episode, from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and 6 being decent, I give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's just that good, in my opinion. I mean, do have some of those nitpickings, like too much being adapted from the comics and then too much being shown in the trailers, but you do have other, I guess, larger things of importance or whatever that have to be included, such as Rick not being underutilized and what's it called, Michonne's stream kind of being odd a bit, but great character development and great. I do believe it's great that they're trying to incorporate older characters kind of into the new characters, inspire them. So that was also pretty cool too. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10 is what I will give it. So yeah, that's basically it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I also do other Walking Dead review videos, both on the comics and the TV shows. So so stay tuned for those. I have reviewed the previous episode, Too Far Gone, as you can tell here, and I also reviewed issue 50. I will leave an annotation up here for those who want to check it out. So yeah, subscribe. Yeah, comment down below on your thoughts on this episode. Have you seen it, or have you seen it, or have you not seen it? If you haven't seen it yet, do you want to see it after this? And if you have seen it, what did you think of it? Do you think it should be more than 8.5 or less than 8.5? All your thoughts down below. And yeah, that's basically it. And what did you think about the character development? Awesome. Down below. Oh, whatever. That's basically it for this video. Remember to subscribe, comment below, share on Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Vine, or whatever you guys prefer. And that's basically it. This is Daniel Mart signing off.